Please, sir.
Lisa Murray from the Financial Review. I just asked you a couple of things. The database showed a fall last year in investment, and while that was contributed to by what China's doing on capital controls, it also seemed to be more pronounced in Australia. I just wondered whether you were concerned about that.
No, I don't think I'm particularly concerned. I think, again, capital investment by its nature is lumpy. There can be ups and downs in particular years, but I think, as I said in the speech, that the relationship between Australia and China and Chinese trade and investment is going to shape Australia's future for decades to come. Again, as you know, I think there are issues of the investments and transactions that actually apply in Australia. Some of them can be huge, and they can actually affect the base that you're looking at. But I would imagine, again, with the changes on the actual transactions that occur, as I said, and the lumpiness and scale of some of them combined with what's going on in China with respect to capital outflows is the large cause of it.
Just, if I might just ask another question. Obviously the trade war between China and the US is having an impact, and that's important for Australia as well. How worried are you about that? And just with the Critical Infrastructure Centre, can you just give us an idea of how that's actually going to work? So, for example, with the APA transaction coming up, do they advise the Treasurer or do they advise the Home Affairs Minister and that goes into Cabinet? How's it actually going to work?
Just what was the first question about? Trade. Look, I think at the moment the application of tariffs are affecting about 2% of global trade, and I don't think there's been any measured macroeconomic effects so far. I think the risks, however, have heightened, and to the extent that those risks flow through to confidence, we will be monitoring that situation, but no evidence as yet. With respect to the Critical Infrastructure Centre, again, I think we have to separate two issues here. One is the issue of national security. And issues relating to national security can actually have an impact on entities which are foreign-owned or domestically owned. And the Foreign Investment Review Board and the Treasurer, as a personal decision, then looks at national interest, which again I said in the talk is wider than national security. The way the process basically works is the CIC gives input to the Foreign Investment Review Board, and the Foreign Investment Review Board advice is provided to the Treasurer, and again it is the Treasurer's decision. The FIRB actually briefs the Treasurer with information that is useful to consider in making that decision. So the national security issues themselves, the Minister for Home Affairs would probably also be interested in that outcome, but with respect to a foreign investment decision, it's a Treasurer-only decision.
Angus.
Thank you. Angus Creek from the Financial Review. I just wanted, you mentioned the Critical Infrastructure Centre and you mentioned cyber security. I wonder, can you just give us a bit of your thinking on how big a role data now plays in decisions around approval of investments, foreign investments? I think David Irvine's spoken about it, but can you just elaborate a little bit about would that be a major consideration if a target entity held large amounts of sort of data on Australian citizens? Would that be a very big factor in determining a foreign investment decision?
Yes, it would be. I think we are looking at the protection of data and in particular where personal data is held and are very active in looking at the protection of that data. from both, I would think, in a national security and national interest sense. Data can actually go to the, again, in its almost meta level at data centres versus the individual information on customers that are held in retail sectors, again, like energy and things like that. So it's one of the things that we look at, and again, I think the protection of personal information is something that the government has to consider.
Questions from this side of the room at all? David?
David Olsen from Wood Melsons. One of the interesting aspects of the report is the fact that it relies upon beneficial sources of that of the capital flows, which is quite extraordinary given the challenges we all face in trying to find out where that money comes from. But has this report, which now seems to go back over 4 years, given rise to any different thinking about the investments that have taken place today and changed our understanding of our perception of what China's investment has looked like over the last 4 years?
Look, I think it's fair to say that report, as far as I know, and as people who did it until anything different, has only just been received. So it's, I think, a piece of information which we will analyse and have a look at and actually, as you say, draw from it any conclusions, analysis, trends that we can actually look at and usefully use. So this is one piece of information in a wider set of information about foreign investment. I think this one is unique. It actually looks, as you say, through ultimate beneficial ownership and in terms of transactions that have occurred. So it's a very useful piece of information which we will look at closely.
Any more questions from the floor? Philip, I might just ask you, sorry, we've got a gentleman up the back there, just while we're waiting for the microphone, I might just ask you one question as well. The role that public sentiment plays in that investment decision process that FIRB and the Treasurer goes through, I think that's quite different, say, in Australia to some other countries where there's less, call it, judgment involved in the decision, and where you have an elected representative who has to make that call. They're always going to be subject to some consideration of the public view of the day. And I'm thinking particularly when you come to agricultural land, this is a particularly sensitive topic in some areas. I'm just interested in your reflections on that as an issue, particularly for our Chinese friends who are here thinking about how Australia thinks about investment.
Look, I think as an overall issue, it is very important that the Australian community has confidence in the foreign investment system. And again, I think the facts that come out in products like the GEA database, and in fact what we have been doing with foreign registers of agricultural land and water rights, actually tell us the extent of this ownership, and again I think can give or allay the fears of some with respect to what they perceive to be actual involvement. I think, and I can see my conspirator Roger Blake over there in the room, I think foreign investment in agricultural land is about 13.9%. So it's not a large thing, and if my memory is right again, I think the largest owner of agricultural land is the UK. Chinese have been growing very quickly, but it's still, I think it's now second in terms of stock. So again, I think the establishment of these registers, the availability of aggregated and very useful information can inform the community about these things and then actually influence the debate. And the emotional aspects of that debate can be allayed through, again, facts and figures that come out of this.
Thank you, Philip. Gentleman on the back there.
That's okay. That answered my question, is the agricultural land question that you asked.
Thank you. So any last questions? We've got Secretary of the Treasury for about 2 more minutes. James?
Thank you. James Lawrenson from the Australia-China Relations Institute at UTS. You mentioned that Australia has a non-discriminatory approach to foreign investment, fair enough. One data point I noticed earlier this year from a different survey of Chinese investment from KPMG and Sydney University. They actually surveyed Chinese investors in Australia, and I was pretty surprised by one of the findings. It said that only 35% of Chinese investors felt welcome to invest in Australia. How might we explain that? That was actually down from 52% in 2014. So although we have this non-discriminatory approach, it seems to be that Chinese investors themselves don't feel particularly welcome. 1/3 saying they feel welcome. How might we explain that, and what might we do to fix that perception?
I don't have knowledge of that study, and again, I'd like to see a bit more detail about it, but again, there are many features, true and false, that relate to foreign investment. It is a complex topic, and I think people can make judgments, again, not based on actual facts and experience. And again, I think there have been a couple of transactions lately. Perhaps that has influenced opinion, but again, I can tell you from the positions I've been in that those transactions have been examined and decisions have been made on the basis that that decision could not have been any other way. So again, I would just again go back to the the view that I have is that the more people actually get down to the details and the facts and the evidence of this, it can remove some of the prejudices or biases or views that they have.
Okay, please join me in thanking Philip, who's been very generous both with his time and also